All right. Let's bring it on in here. What is going on, everyone? DylanLasagna here, back with another live stream podcast. Here with you all today. This is episode number 51 of the DylanLasagna live podcast. In case you missed the WrestleMania watch-along stream that I did throughout the course of the weekend. I did one on Saturday and Sunday. The Saturday one, I am still working out to get that unblocked. To get that one unblocked by WWE. It's still pretty stupid, but if you want to watch what happened on Sunday, my reaction watch along, see how I reacted to everything that went down last night. That's on demand on the channel. That one's not blocked by WWE. Hopefully that states that way. But I am still working out. I submitted a dispute on YouTube to get that stream unblocked. But in case you missed the previous episode of DylanLasagna Live, where I discussed the predictions for WrestleMania, go check that out right now. And as well as my other content that's on demand, as always, on this channel. But let's talk a little bit about WrestleMania, because we're actually going to get into all of it today. Given the circumstances that WWE was in, WWE was stuck in a corner. The whole COVID-19 situation forced them to move from the Tom Brady Raymond James Stadium, the home of the Tom Brady Bucks. They were forced to move from there to the Performance Center, and then you get all the news about how it's going to be pre-taped. Roman Reigns is not going to compete for his own health. Then you got other wrestlers that weren't at the tapings. And then you got The Miz showing up sick at the tapings. And then you got all these other reports of how if spoilers get out, some people are going to get fired and all that good stuff. And then there were reactions within the internet wrestling community saying, reacting to all this, saying WrestleMania should have been postponed. It should have been moved to June. Most likely, the pandemic will die down by then, and there's an open slot in June. The NBA most likely not gonna be able to come back this season. Oh, that freed up more dates for the WWE. Why not put WrestleMania there? The New York Knicks suck anyway. Put Madison Square Gardens open now. Put WrestleMania in MSG there. All those kind of arguments people made about WrestleMania. Even before all this happened, the build towards WrestleMania was pretty lacking. You only had two or three matches in my mind that only made this they were only WrestleMania worthy. Edge versus Randy Orton, and then you also had Otis versus Dolph Ziggler. Those two matches were WrestleMania worthy, but those two matches also needed a crowd. Those two matches really, really needed the fans to be there, to be invested. You could also make the argument that Brock Lesnar versus Drew McIntyre also was a match worthy for WrestleMania, specifically because Drew McIntyre could have used the crowd, especially with the WrestleMania moment that he had last night. That is still up for debate. Everything else everything else from Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair, from the SmackDown Women's title match to even the Raw Women's title match, and pretty much the Universal title match, everything else that I didn't mention yet. You can make the case that this WrestleMania was pretty lackluster in its build, even before the whole pandemic was really starting to get worse. But after this weekend, Mania still went on as planned. Obviously, it was 2 taped for one night. So they went through the whole WrestleMania weekend without anything being spoiled. So 2 nights of WrestleMania. Thank God it was only 3 hours. I'm going to get to all that at the end of the show on what I think, whether or not that we should continue to do 2 nights of WrestleMania permanently. But given all the circumstances, given all the changes that WWE had to endure from the ones I just mentioned, I gotta admit, it's like WrestleMania 36 is not the greatest WrestleMania. It won't ever be. WrestleMania 36 is not the worst WrestleMania ever. It's definitely on the very low tier of WrestleManias. Like not one of the worst by any means. It was just It was It was pretty average, pretty solid, pretty decent. It's like teetering between below average and average in the average to solid category. It's like this WrestleMania will be remembered as how WWE like exceeded a bunch of people's expectations despite the circumstances. And WWE gave me some surprises that I really didn't expect out of this WrestleMania. And we're going to go into all of that in this Dylan Lasagna Live podcast stream. So thank you all for joining me. We could certainly use some more viewership here on these live podcasts. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, and if not, what are you waiting for? Your viewership means the world to me. And as always, make sure you have notifications on. I know for some of you, like, sub boxes are on. I don't know if YouTube is shadow banning me. But make sure, even though all of this, make sure you're subscribed and you're always checking the channel for whenever I'm live streaming these podcasts. So let's get into it. I know we have a couple of questions here already. We're going to get into the Firefly Funhouse match later in the stream because I have a lot of thoughts on that match. I really do. So we're going to go into night 1 of WrestleMania because we got to go into this WrestleMania into chronological order. So we go into night 1 of WrestleMania. Actually, before we get into that, sorry. I want to remind everyone about this right here. Where is it? I want to remind everyone. Let me go to the full post if I can. Okay, I'll just put it up here. I want to remind everyone that May 1st will be a your takes, your topics, and your everything kind of episode. This is only if there are enough submissions. There are enough submissions, like enough requests to do it. So like here are the basic guidelines for in order for this to happen. Like, so all you have to do is simply reply to this community post. So all you have to do is submit a discussion topic. All you have to do is comment like a take on past topics I previously discussed, or even your like comments on like takes I had on topics. So go. Since we're all in quarantine, this is a very good time to listen back to past Dylan Lasagna live episodes. If you have questions for me or the live stream podcast, this is your opportunity to ask them in this through this community post, or simply a video that you'd like me to react to that I haven't already or plan to react to. Please don't ask me to react to this right here, because I already reacted to it and I did not like it. Sorry. Again, if along the way before the deadline, Sunday, April 26th, I will add or remove things to these guidelines. So, again, this thing is open until April 26th. So, whether or not I get submissions, that's when this whole thing will close. I consider it a contest for you all. So, if you all want to be featured on the May 1st episode of Dylan Lasagna Live, this is your opportunity to do so. So it's a your takes, your topics, your everything episode. Excuse me. And if there aren't like any submissions, I'll just proceed with the show as normal with like topics I randomly find. But you know, I do want to give back to my viewers, and this is your opportunity to do so. So if you want to be featured, this is your chance. So April 26th is your deadline. All right, now let's get into WrestleMania, because we have 2 nights to dissect here. It's going to be a pretty long show here for this episode, for this podcast. So we get to night 1, WrestleMania night 1. We have the pre-show. And they revealed like the matches for night 1 and night 2, and on paper, it looked like night 2 was going to be a better night than night 1. Night 1 consisted of the following: Cesaro versus Drew Gulak, Alexa Bliss versus Nikki Cross against Asuka and Kairi Sane for the women's tag titles. Elias versus Baron Corbin, Becky Lynch versus Shayna Baszler for the Raw Women's title, Sami Zayn versus Daniel Bryan for the Intercontinental title, the SmackDown Tag Team title ladder match, Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins, Braun Strowman versus Goldberg for the Universal title, The Undertaker versus AJ Styles in that Boneyard match. Then we get to Sunday. We had Liv Morgan versus Natalya, Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte for the NXT Women's Championship, Aleister Black versus Bobby Lashley, and then Otis versus Dolph Ziggler, Edge versus Randy Orton in a last man standing match, the Street Profits versus Angel Garza and Austin Theory for the Raw Tag Team titles, the Fatal 5-Way Elimination match for the SmackDown Women's title, the Firefly Funhouse match, and then the WWE title match. So pretty much on paper, night 2 on paper looked better than night 1, but I'll get into my thoughts on which was the overall better night. So let's dissect night 1. We start off with Cesaro versus Drew Gulak for night 1. This was a last-minute addition to the pre-show, to the card in general, but it was on the pre-show. We got a kick. This was our kickoff to WrestleMania, and I honestly couldn't care less. I really couldn't care less. I mean, what exactly do you want me to like? What more do you want me to say? What more do you want me to care for a match that was just added to the pre-show? That was just added like literally, what was it, 5, 6, 7 hours before WrestleMania. So the finish was pretty cool though. Cesaro does an airplane spin on Drew Gulak, and then as soon as Cesaro like continues to spin a little bit, he does it with no hands. So I thought that was a pretty cool move there. And he wins it on the airplane span. So it's a whatever match. I didn't really give a shit about it. It's like they're already the two are already engaged in the feud with Sami Zayn and Daniel Bryan, but it's whatever. It's whatever. I don't really care. Then we open the actual WrestleMania with the women's tag team champions Asuka and Kairi Sane. I really don't like to refer them by their tag team names because I think it's still stupid. Versus Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. Bliss Cross Applesauce. That's the name that they should be using. Shout out to Pokemon Gamer with that name in the chat. So this first half of WrestleMania, there's a lot of unimportant matches. I feel like half of this WrestleMania was just filler anyway. So we start this WrestleMania with the women's tag team champions, but I'll get into the tag team championships in general later. So the Kabuki Warriors, yeah, I said it, Kabuki Warriors, they manhandle Alexa Bliss for a large chunk of this match. They keep Nikki Cross out of it whenever Alexa Bliss or tries to go for a tag. But then Nikki Cross gets the hot tag, and she trades off with Alexa Bliss with hot tags, and both teams trade hitting their finishers whenever a false finish happens. And this is also where the editing for WWE comes back to bite them, like the editing process. This is a tape show, and they had like 2 weeks to like perfect it. So Exhibit 1 was the Nikki Cross hit her finisher, the Purge, but WWE made a obvious editing mistake because like as soon as the ref was going like 1, 2, and then there was suddenly a long pause with the pin count, and then all of a sudden it cut to Kairi Sane hitting the insane elbow onto Nikki Cross. I was like, wait, why did it take that long? Why did it take that long for Kairi Sane to hit that insane elbow out of nowhere? And you could clearly tell the flaws in WWE's taping process. It was like, okay, you could clearly tell this is taped, but you had a week and a half to edit that to make it so that you're not taping this. So, Exhibit 2 was Asuka hitting the Asuka lock on Nikki, and then Alexa Bliss hits the Twisted Bliss on both of them to break it up. But I mean, that's not a taping error. That's just an example of the false finish. So, the finish comes in when Kairi Sane almost hits Asuka with a spear, but then that allows Asuka to get thrown into the ring post by Nikki Cross before she and Alexa hit their finishers on Kairi Sane to win back the women's tag team championships. I mean, Nikki Cross was pretty much the MVP in this match. Like, she was pretty much in there for the longest time, getting her ass handed. But it's just like, I really didn't care for this match because of how WWE treats the women's tag team division like an afterthought. It's like, how can you have a women's tag team division when you don't even have the women's wrestlers to support it? It's like, the only teams you have are Bliss Cross Applesauce and the Kabuki Warriors. Fire and Desire just broke up. You all realize that. Fire and Desire just broke up. And I don't know if you constitute Lacey Evans and Naomi as a tag team. So, it's like there's only technically 2 teams now in the whole women's tag team roster. Oh, Iconics. Well, since when have they been relevant? Since when have the Moronics been relevant? And who is texting me? Oh. Since when have the moronics been irrelevant? Since when have the moronics been relevant? It's like those screeching, those cringy moronics. Yeah, it's like I'd rather have them repackaged than have them like screeching on my TV. So, why do these titles still exist in the first place? I will get into those titles later, much later, because it relates to the match that I'm going to talk about relating to NXT later. So then we had Elias versus Baron Corbin because reasons. I mean, this was Elias's first WrestleMania match since someone pointed out that he was he was only on WrestleMania for like skits and stuff. Last year he did this like concert, only to be interrupted by John Cena like for 2 years in a row. So he has his first real match at WrestleMania, and I just didn't really care. So Corbin tries for a dirty pin with using the ropes as leverage, but the ref catches him. But once Elias uses a dirty pin by pulling on the tights, he wins. So, I mean, I don't expect this rivalry to be over, to be one and done, but it's just like, I don't really care. Then we had our first real match of the night, which was the Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch versus Shayna Baszler. And if you followed my channel for the past couple of months, you know how much I have been disliking Becky Lynch and her man gimmick. So I was ready for Becky Lynch to lose this match and take a break to redesign, reclaim, and what was the other Seth Rollins like catchphrase? Oh, rebuild her gimmick. Redesign, rebuild, reclaim her man gimmick. So something I didn't catch on was how short this match was. They only went like 9 minutes, because it felt like at least 13. I really did, given how slow of a style they work. So it only went 9 minutes. So I mean, I guess most of this match consisted of them punching each other, like throwing strikes at each other, and early on, Shayna Baszler and Becky Lynch tried to go for their submission finishers, but they were able to escape. And then you had Baszler locking into disarmer on Becky, and it would have been really cool to have Becky tap out to her own finish, but you know, she managed to escape. But Baszler was right there to hit the knee on Becky's face for a 2 count. And then at one point, Baszler threw around Becky Lynch around the announce table, just like she did on Raw last week. And then Becky Lynch was unconscious enough, like, for Baszler to throw her back in the ring and lock in the Cure Feudal Clutch. But I guess Baszler got too aggressive, and then this allowed Becky to play possum for a bit and use her weight to roll up Shayna Baszler for the 3 count. Now, if you watched my watch along, I was like, I was really pissed. I was really pissed that Becky Lynch won this match. She's now held the Raw Women's Championship for a year now. Today marks that achievement for Becky Lynch. Historically, Shayna Baszler has been dominant, and then like she doesn't always like win her first title attempt, or like doesn't always win the title in her first like attempt. She lost to Ember Moon, like in the same way on a roll up, and then same thing with Kairi Sane, like at a couple of NXT takeovers in the past, and then in the second attempt she won it. But I really don't understand why history should repeat itself, you know? Like, she rolled through the Royal Rumble before she got eliminated by Charlotte Flair. inexplicably, and then she completely wiped the floor in the Elimination Chamber match that didn't need to happen. And then now we get to her losing her WrestleMania match against Becky Lynch. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. It doesn't make sense. It's like this match was teased. Like Shayna Baszler was completely dominating. Like the last time these two were in the ring, Becky and Bayley. I think it was Survivor Series 2019 where they had that triple threat. Baszler, like they couldn't. She wasn't getting stopped. She wasn't getting clapped. And then afterwards, Becky, like, put her through the announce table, and then Baszler continued to wreak havoc and all that. But it's just like she lost at WrestleMania on a fruit roll up, which made her look stupid. But I don't know. I really don't know. What do you guys think? I really don't know about Shayna Baszler. It's like, does she still feud with Becky Lynch? Does creative not see anything with Shayna Baszler? Was it not the right time for Shayna Baszler to win the title because of the circumstances? But you can't really say that because look at who else won a championship at WrestleMania this weekend. Is Ronda Rousey coming back to feud with Becky once it's all clear that WWE starts doing events again? I really don't have a clue. I really don't know what the problem is with Shayna Baszler winning the title with Becky Lynch. Because it's like, what exactly has Becky done in the past year to make her deserving of a year-long title run? I feel like at this point, she's the John Cena from 2005. She's the John Cena. No, check that. She's the John Cena from 2006 to 2012. Her whatever's left of her man gimmick, it's pretty much John Cena 3.0. It's like, yeah, I know it's like she's popular with casuals, but she doesn't get a reaction from the hardcore fan base anymore. It's like even her loyal fan base like barely gives her a reaction. It's like now that she's already like got a win over Shayna Baszler, albeit maybe like not the cleanest one. Who's there left to face? Who's really left to face for Shayna Baszler? Give me an answer. Really give me an answer. I don't know. I really don't know. Is the Four Horsemen like this new Breakfast Club? This new Fortunate Four of TNA? Remember Fortune 4 from TNA? Like, I feel like that's what's going on with the Four Horsewomen. I don't know. I really don't know. But I don't know. If Ronda Rousey really comes back, then I guess that's the feud that they're going to go with for SummerSlam. But until then, Becky has no one left to face until they call someone up from NXT. Speaking of NXT call-ups, we're going to get into that later on the show. Then you had on night one, Sami Zayn defending his Intercontinental Championship against Daniel Bryan. I really thought this was going to be a dark horse contender for best wrestling match, like pure wrestling match of the night. But unfortunately, like the match went on for like too little. It was too short. And half of it, like with the time given, half of it was Sami Zayn like playing pussy. Like he was running away like a pussy from Daniel Bryan for a lot of this match. He was rolling in and out of the ring and using Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura as his personal bodyguards like always. But Drew Gulak decided enough was enough. He decided to fly from the apron and take out both Nakamura and Cesaro and throw them across the barricade to knock them out. And Daniel Bryan decided to play a little strategy here. He decided to let Sami Zayn walk. He decided to let himself get counted out, but then Daniel Bryan, as soon as Sami Zayn's back was turned, he brought him back into the ring and then he hit all his signature moves on Sami Zayn. But in the end, Sami Zayn's clique came back, clapped Drew Gulak. Bryan took them out, but Sami Zayn snuck from behind with a win on a fruit roll-up. I mean, it was alright. The match was okay. I mean, Sami Zayn, as usual, cheated to win. And can he get a haircut, please? He looks so weird. He looks like a cab driver. So, I guess Bryan has a case for a rematch. But, hold on. But, I guess Sami Zayn winning also has a positive effect because it keeps Daniel Bryan and Drew Gulak together as a team, because I would really like to see Daniel Bryan and Drew Gulak make a run for the SmackDown Tag Team Championship and add some depth to what is a pretty weak tag team division. Next up, we got the SmackDown Tag Team Championships being defended in a triple threat ladder match. Now, earlier in the day, that report of Miz not working Mania, Miz getting sick, he showed up to work sick. It wasn't confirmed by WWE, but they said Miz was unable to compete due to the attack from the previous night on SmackDown. But either way, WWE said Miz is not going to compete at WrestleMania. So what they did was, the ladder match is still going to happen, but one representative from each team is going to compete. So it was going to be John Morrison, obviously, and then Kofi Kingston from the New Day and Jimmy Uso. So Big E wasn't there, and then Jey Uso wasn't there. So those were your 3 representatives from each team. So the match starts with all 3 men. They do these flips and stuff. You know I am against flips, but the flips doesn't get too crazy here. They're all at a stalemate, but then once they get a ladder, John Morrison regains control here. This match really set the tone for the rest of the night. This is what made it a solid night here. The match starts with John Morrison and Kofi Kingston. The match starts with a stalemate, but then Morrison gains control. There was no crowd. But all 3 of them wrestled like there was one. There was so many. Hang on, y'all. Keep getting interrupted. Guys, I do apologize for leaving for 10 minutes. I had to fucking wait for the people that interrupted me to leave. It's freaking stupid, you know? It's I leave a sign. On my door. It says recording in progress. Whether it's a stream, whether it's I'm doing a video, whether I'm recording a video. It says recording in progress. Do not disturb. And yet these people still have the right mind to think that, he's recording something. Oop, let's knock on the door and open the door and walk in. Let's waltz in. As if he's not doing shit. I honestly don't get it. The flow was completely ruined on what I was about to say about about WrestleMania. I'm sorry I really had to bring that up, but I think even just putting a sign, it's like it's fucking useless. It's really fucking useless. It's like putting a stop sign. It's like putting a stop sign when you're driving. It's like, are you gonna not follow the stop sign? Or are you just gonna like pass through the stop sign, just drive casually through the stop sign? No, you have to follow the rules. It's a legal obligation. Well, why aren't you gonna follow the sign that's on my door? Recording in progress. Do not disturb. It ain't that hard to read, people. It ain't that hard to read. Listen to the damn rule on my door. When I'm maybe I should like I invest in a on air like regalia. Maybe I should. Getting really tired of this is like what? How many streams on my channel ever since I started have I had someone interrupt me? It is every time this happens, it completely ruins the stream. It completely ruins the flow of these streams. But sorry you guys had to wait for like 10 to 20 minutes just for me to get back on here. Now I'm gonna have to edit. I'm gonna have to edit it out. I'm really gonna have to edit this part out. I'm gonna have to edit that long gap that you guys had to wait through. In post. But I don't want to complain about it too much. Now we gotta talk about Miz and Morrison again. All right, so where were we? SmackDown Tag Team Title match: John Morrison and the Miz versus Kofi King, the New Day, and the Usos. They're supposed to go up in a ladder match, but there was these reports going around that Miz showed up to the tapings sick, and the Usos were not happy with it, and that was a chain effect that led to Roman Reigns pulling out of WrestleMania. But we all know that's not true, at least with the part with Roman Reigns being influenced by the Miz's illness, but we know that the Miz was sick. But anyway, Miz was not able to participate. WWE didn't confirm that Miz was sick, but they changed the match slightly. It's still a ladder match, only this time one member from each team is going to participate. So it was John Morrison, obviously, representing Miz and Morrison, and then Kofi Kingston from the New Day, and Jimmy Uso from the Usos. So we start this match. They're at a stalemate. Am I going to get interrupted this time? Thank you. They started a stalemate. Each of them grab a ladder. And then John Morrison gains control. He takes out Kofi Kingston and Jimmy Uso and tries to go for the titles, but he gets stopped by them. And then from there, it becomes a spot fest. And at least this spot fest was a good one, at least. Because even though there was no crowd, these three men really acted like they wrestled like there was one. These were pretty insane spots, too. Like, Kofi tried to springboard through the ladder, but he got tossed out of the ring by Jimmy and John Morrison. And then Kofi Kingston did a springboard head scissors on Morrison, who was on the ladder. And then John Morrison hit Kofi Kingston with a Spanish fly while he was tightrope walking. And then Jimmy Uso hit a Superfly splash onto John Morrison. And then John Morrison sent Jimmy Uso off the ladder out of the ring, which I think Jimmy Uso landed on a crash pad. That's the thing about editing pre-tape stuff. But it looked pretty nice nonetheless. And then we get to the ending. all three men have their hands on the titles. But Kofi Kingston and Jimmy Uso make that big mistake by headbutting John Morrison off the ladder because in doing so, Morrison made that heads up move in unclipping both tag team belts, and then he crashed onto the ladder bridge. Like, I really wish he went through the ladder, but smart on Morrison for unclipping the ladder as he fell. I mean, unclipping the belts. And John Morrison and The Miz, John Morrison and The Miz are still your tag team champions for SmackDown. Really fun match here. Some really good spots. Now, it seems like Miz and Morrison don't really have any more compelling challengers for the tag team titles. That's why I said Daniel Bryan and Drew Gulak should make a run for it. Should make a run for challenging Miz and Morrison for the tag team titles. But we don't know when that's going to happen, though. Now we get to Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins. Owens was looking for that WrestleMania win and looking to cap off months of torment from Rollins that began the night after Survivor Series. Pretty much, there wasn't a lot to tell with this story other than Owens getting his WrestleMania moment, because before this, Rollins and Owens were just going back and forth with 8-man tag team matches, and Rollins just beating up on Owens with his disciples, AOP and Buddy. Oh, not my Buddy Murphy. So where we have the match, Seth Rollins tries to curb stomp Owens twice. I don't know why he put Seth Rollins tries to curb stomp Rollins twice. So he's trying to curb stomp himself. I put that on my notes here. Rollins tries to curb stomp Rollins. Okay, me. So Owens sidesteps them, and then Owens gets some early offense in with some sentons and throwing Rollins around the ringside area. Rollins gets the upper hand later, though, with a Falcon Arrow on the ring apron and a back body drop. And then this is where the empty arena is kind of a benefit, but also a distraction when it comes to trash talk. This was a good thing for trash talking. It's Rollins is saying things. It's where's your WrestleMania moment now? It's I'm a god. He was giving that kind of trash talk to Owens, and he was bragging about his WrestleMania track record while Owens doesn't have one. And then all of this was during the time that Seth Rollins was hitting suicide dives onto Owens. And then on the third one that Rollins tried to do, Owens hit him with a punch, and then Owens got some offense in, but Rollins got back with the sling blade. Rollins tried to go for the curb stomp, but was met with the Pop-Tart powerbomb for a 2 count. Rollins rolled into the ringside area, and then Owens followed him, only to be met with the ring bell, which caused a disqualification in favor of Owens. So Owens gets the DQ win. Seth Rollins is about to leave, and I thought it was going to transition into the next match, but it's not over yet. And I really thought I was going to give... I thought I really was going to shit on the ending, but the match wasn't over yet. Kevin Owens saves the day from the shitting I was going to give on this match for its ending by persuading Rollins back into the ring for a restart, only this time under no DQ rules. So Rollins was persuaded, and he went back to work on a pretty spent Kevin Owens. Rollins dominated this the early portion. He sent Kevin Owens out of the ring with a high knee before taking him out with the steel steps and the steel chair. But then this is where Rollins' big mouth comes back to bite him. So Kevin Owens hits Rollins with the ring bell in the same manner that Rollins got himself disqualified. And then Owens hits him with it again to knock him out onto the announce table. And then all of a sudden, Kevin Owens runs backstage. I thought he was gonna like pussy out or something. But no. He instead went up onto the WrestleMania sign, and in a first, he jumped off of it. He jumped off of the WrestleMania sign with an elbow drop onto Rollins through the announce table. Rollins couldn't breathe. He was clenching his chest. And then Kevin Owens rolled him back into the ring, limp. Like, both men are hurt. Kevin Owens is limping. Rollins can't breathe. Rollins is begging and pleading for his life like he's a broken god. He clearly didn't feel like one. And then Owens finished him off with a stunner. And Kevin Owens finally got his WrestleMania moment with the jump off the WrestleMania sign and a win over Seth Rollins. Now, clearly, again, the focus of this match was to tell the story of Kevin Owens finally getting his WrestleMania moment. And through 7 minutes of hell, he finally got it and more. Again, the empty arena allowed Owens and Rollins to have a lot of great trash talk among one another. There was plenty of trash talk with the empty arena matches, but we'll get into those later. And almost when they did that DQ finish originally, that almost ruined the match, because you can't have WrestleMania, like a WrestleMania match ending a DQ. This is not the 1980s. This is not the 1980s we're talking about here. But good thing, Kevin Owens persuaded Rollins enough to fight him under no DQ rules for what was an even better match and led to an even better WrestleMania moment. So it's like, instead of pointing to the WrestleMania sign as usual, Kevin Owens took advantage of the fact that they were in the Performance Center. The WrestleMania sign was pretty much on the ground, and he jumped off of it. Now, had this match taken place in the Tom Brady Stadium, like in Tampa, I keep calling it the Tom Brady Stadium because, Tom Brady's on the Bucks now. Now, had this match taken place in the Tom Brady Stadium, then maybe KO could have done something even crazier by, like, the two brawling in the crowd, and then Kevin Owens decides to jump off the Tampa Bay Bucks pirate ship that's always in the crowd. But the Mania sign was always, it's always going to be a cool spot to remember. But, yeah, Kevin Owens wins. And I hope this is the end of their rivalry, because I just don't see Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins feuding for another month or two. It's like, how long have they been feuding? It's like since November, so like a good 4 months per se, good 5-6 months. I really don't see them feuding any further. It's like Kevin Owens already got his WrestleMania moment. He finally got some his revenge, if not all of it. It's like, what more do you need to do? What more do you need to do to Seth Rollins? Then you get to the Universal Championship match between Goldberg and Braun Strowman. Then you get to the Universal Championship match between Goldberg and Braun Strowman. And I gotta say, there was no way this match was going to main event the night in the way it did, or the way it was set up. And fortunately, this match didn't. So Roman Reigns pulls out due to health concerns and like his family. And Braun Strowman steps in. He said that he got a call. He was on the bump, and he got a call from WWE saying, "We need you here to step in for Roman Reigns." And pretty much there's no fanfare to that. We all know what happened in Braun Strowman commenting on indie wrestlers. Yeah, that was a thing. So no fanfare for Braun Strowman being Roman Reigns' replacement, because it literally happened the day before. And there's still no explanation on why Roman was being replaced by Braun Strowman as this match happens. So as expected, Goldberg hits a few spears. I really thought he was gonna wipe the floor with Braun with those 3 spears, which Braun kicked out of all of them. So Goldberg hits the spear again, and he does his he does that taunt. He does that usually sets up for the jackhammer, but Braun Strowman gets out of the jackhammer and hits 3 power slams. If you seriously thought Goldberg was gonna be able to hit it off with a jackhammer on Bray Wyatt, then if you really thought that Goldberg was able to hit the jackhammer successfully on Bray Wyatt and do it again on Braun Strowman, who's even heavier, bro, you got serious issues. So Braun hits 2 more power slams, and I gotta say, this was the biggest surprise of the night for me. That on that night, Braun Strowman actually won the Universal Championship. They actually gave Braun Strowman, who was criticizing indie wrestlers a couple weeks ago for not being able to support themselves during this time, and who was given a world title 2.5 years too late. Wow. There's only 2 things I could say about this. Braun Strowman absolutely stole Roman Reigns' title opportunity because he won the Universal Championship, and Goldberg's win over Bray Wyatt means absolutely nothing. It's even more meaningless because he lost to another meaningless wrestler in Braun Strowman. And in all honesty, we don't know who's going to be facing Braun first for this title, because we don't know if WWE's going to be taping anything like this week. Well, they said they're going to do it at a SmackDown at a secret location, but in all honesty, just take a break. Like, do your secret location thing and then take a break after that. It's like going in off season. The people that did WrestleMania deserve it, you know? It's like you got nothing to lose by taking a break. Like you can fulfill these TV contracts. Like, honestly, fuck the TV contracts. It's like we're in a pandemic right now. It's like fulfill these TV contracts with what you got on the WWE network, with the documentaries, the old pay-per-views. Like, if you really want people to be enticed with the current product, show stuff from the network. And then, even then, it's just like, we don't know when Roman Reigns will be able to work, or if he wants to work, given the current situation. And that just leaves Bray Wyatt. And we all know what happened with Bray Wyatt at Super Showdown. I honestly thought Goldberg was going to retain because, well, one, it's like Braun Strowman, again, hasn't done anything to get the Universal Championship. And 2, Roman Reigns, could have had a feel-good moment at SummerSlam. He still could by winning against Braun Strowman if he's still champion by then. SummerSlam, if it happens, I think it will, but it's just like Roman Reigns could have that feel-good moment against Goldberg when he takes off the title from him when social gatherings are allowed again. But I guess WWE wasn't able to hold on to Goldberg for that long as they could. I don't know. I just don't like these part-timers. I don't know. I guess just they decided part-timers are bad, but we're going to do it again anyway next year. Then we get to the main event of the first night. Undertaker versus AJ Styles in a Boneyard, aka Buried Alive match. I said it before, and I will say it again. I said it numerous times in the watch-alongs over the weekend. out of all the matches at Mania, this Buried Alive match, aka Boneyard match, it benefited most from Mania being pre-taped. And by God, it really surprised me. It really did benefit. It really did. So you got all this cinematography and this horror film vibes, and a lot of inspiration from that Ultimate Deletion match Matt Hardy did a couple years ago. And this match also really brought out the best in AJ Styles and Undertaker. So this thing begins with the hearse pulling up in a grave, and droids come out to pull a casket out of the hearse. And you think it would be Undertaker, like in this casket. You think Undertaker, like in his dead man gimmick, would come out. But no, it's AJ Styles. So AJ Styles appears in the casket. He sits up and he's awaiting Undertaker. So Undertaker comes out, like Undertaker arrives, but he's not the dead man this time. He's fully embracing the personal emotion of this feud. He's on his motorcycle, like, and as the American badass, so he's Biker Taker again, and Metallica plays, and then he gets off the bike and marches towards Styles. So the two start trash talking each other, and then as soon as Undertaker gets closer to AJ Styles, AJ tries to hit Taker with a brick, but he gets met with a fist. The two start to brawl. Undertaker was pretty much dominating a good early portion of this, as the two are brawling in the graveyard. It's like one point Taker even smashes his arm on the window of the hearse. It didn't hurt him too much, but it was reported that wasn't a planned spot, but it was kept in because it looked cool. I mean, even then, I liked that spot. So they kept trash talking. AJ kept talking about how Undertaker was too old. AJ kept bashing on Michelle McCool. Undertaker talked about AJ Styles coming so late to the WWE and how he brought this whole situation on himself. And then later on, Gallows and Anderson, no surprise, the rest of the OC show up with a bunch of droids. Undertaker fights them all off. AJ from behind hits the Undertaker with the tombstone, not the finisher. And then the OC gang up on the Undertaker, and then AJ Styles spears Undertaker through a fence while breaking his finger. I actually called it perfectly. AJ Styles broke his finger. He's like, did I break my finger? I was like, did AJ Styles break his finger? Because AJ Styles was like trying to relocate his finger. He was like, did I break my finger? And I was like, well, I was right. He broke his finger. And then AJ Styles kept trash talking Undertaker, and then he hit Undertaker with a shovel, and that sent him to the grave. Then we had AJ claiming that he was doing the world a favor by burying the Undertaker, and then he was about to do that with a tractor, but Undertaker used his supernatural powers and appeared behind AJ Styles, and he went on to pretty much dominate the rest of the match. Then we had AJ Styles running up to the roof. Undertaker like a freaking murderer tonight. Undertaker followed him up onto the roof of an abandoned building. The OC returned and tried to attack Undertaker, but Taker sent Gallows flying off the roof, and we never saw Gallows again, and then gave Anderson a tombstone pile driver onto the roof. So all that was left was to take care of AJ Styles. So Taker used his supernatural abilities to scare AJ Styles with fire, and then once AJ Styles was put in a corner, he chokeslammed him off the roof and onto a fence nearby. And then Taker climbed off the roof and then dragged AJ Styles' sorry ass to the grave. AJ was apologizing, crying. He was saying sorry to the Undertaker, and then Undertaker was like, you're sorry, and then he gave him AJ Styles a hug, and then AJ Styles was standing lifelessly before Undertaker gave him the big boot into the grave and burying him alive for good. And then WrestleMania closed with one last pose with Undertaker on his bike and his symbol in the background on top of the roof that was on fire as he rode away to Metallica on his bike. And that was WrestleMania. And this match was pretty unbelievable. The editing, the production was really well put together. Here's some like little tidbits for you, like about the match according to What Culture. So, this match was put together over the span of 5 days and filmed in 8 hours. This was filmed in Orlando, and the dialogue was completely improvised, and apparently Triple H let them talk as much as they wanted, which is good because you want to have that personal. You don't want this to feel too scripted, and it's like you want it to feel as real as possible. And again, as I mentioned, Undertaker smashing the hearse window was improvised. So that it looked, even then, it looked like a really good spot. So even without all these backstage notes from What Culture, everyone involved really did well. Everyone involved really surprised me with this match. As I said before, this match benefited the most from being pre-taped. With the cinematography, the B-level horror style effects, with all the trash talk, really well done. And I thought this was a really great close of the Mania because the second half of this show really carried night one, because the first half was just filler, and it was a lot of matches I didn't care for, like the pre-show match, the women's tag titles. Then we got the wrong result of Becky Lynch retaining over Shayna Baszler, and then the Intercontinental title match that was okay. Sami Zayn retained by cheating, but then we got into the tag team title match, which was you could there wasn't really much that was gonna happen, but turns out it's once it turned into a triple threat, and the two started doing all three of them started doing really great spots in there, even without a crowd. They pretended like there was a crowd there. It's okay, they're really setting a bar here. And then you had Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins, which was a really good match. And then finally had Kevin Owens' WrestleMania moment where he jumped off the WrestleMania sign. Then you got the surprise of the night with Braun Strowman actually winning the Universal Championship when he didn't do anything to get to that point. And then the Boneyard match. It was a good cinematic experience. The one of the best that WWE has done in years. So night one, really solid. Really solid matches, really solid moments, and a close of that was really well done. And it made me excited. It really gave me hope for night two. So how was night two? Let's get into it. Let's get into night two. We kick off night two with Natalya versus Liv Morgan. I mean, again, this was a pre-show match that was added last minute. I really couldn't care for it. So Liv Morgan won, and she always looks tasty as usual. And then you open WrestleMania with the dialogue from Stephanie McMahon. This was both nights. She has this dialogue where she's talking about Despite the current circumstances, we welcome you to WrestleMania, and then you get the opening package for both nights. That is the same opening package. I don't know why they didn't do something different. Where it's like they're breaking the fourth wall with the pirate guy. It's like the epic voice guy, whatever. That's whatever. But then you really open the show up with night 2 with the NXT Women's Champion Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair. I really thought this was gonna be in the middle of the show, but I guess like they really want this match to set the tone for the night. And in all honesty, they really had a really good match. So let's dissect that. So Rhea Ripley came out just like Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z. And then Charlotte Flair came out with their usual gear. And then Rhea Ripley nearly won this match. She nearly won this early with the Riptide. And it was almost quick and decisive. But Charlotte kicked out, rolled down the ring. And then Rhea Ripley delivered a senton off of the ring steps. And then she continued to control the match until she tried to attempt a big boot onto Charlotte, but was caught, and then Flair went for the injured left knee that was previously targeted on an episode of NXT. Flair hung it up on the top rope, and that became a focal point for the rest of the match. So many times, like, Flair would continue to target the knee with chop blocks, knee lifts, and then really low attacks that are freaking illegal in the NFL games. And then she tried to go for the figure 4 often, but Rhea Ripley kept fighting out of it. And then at one point, the Aussie got back into it with the flurry of knees and a baseball drop kick. Then later she did a missile drop kick, but at this point, each offensive move that Rhea Ripley did, it hurt her knee pretty badly. So Rhea Ripley kept hitting her knee. She was tried to get the blood pumping again. She kept hitting it. She kept hitting it. She kept hitting it. It's to get herself back into it. So, to keep her strength back up in her knee. Then Rhea Ripley locked in the Prism Trap cloverleaf before Charlotte fought out of it. So there's a lot of submissions being traded here. So that cloverleaf, Charlotte fought out of it. And then, although Flair would almost try to get the figure 4, she elected for the walls of... Oh, no, not the walls. A Boston Crab. So Rhea Ripley gets out of the Boston Crab, and then they trade pin attempts, but it's clear that both of them are clearly spent at this point. I do want to point out, though, there was a lot of grunting. There was a lot of grunting in this match, and I couldn't help but cringe. A lot of yelling by Rhea Ripley because of the knee, but there was a lot of yelling from Charlotte too, whenever she did the chops. It was like watching a porno. I'm not gonna lie, that watching this NXT Women's Championship match with all the yelling and screaming, it was like watching Pornhub. It was like watching Pornhub. It's I was literally this close to turning off the sound because I couldn't stand the freaking yelling from these two. It's can you limit the amount of can you limit the amount of grunting you're doing right now? Because it's you do it so much, it's not as audible when it's a live crowd. You can still hear Charlotte going It's not as bad in front of a live crowd, but when it's in no crowds in an empty arena, oh my god, it is unbearable. It is so cringe. It is hella bad. I wanted to rant on that very briefly because all that grunting and all that like yelling, that was a theme for tonight. That was the theme for night 2. Grunting and yelling. And a lot of sex sounds. I can't help myself. But anyway, Charlotte was trying to go for a moonsault, but then she was met with a boot to the face by Rhea Ripley, so that caused Charlotte to fall. And then they traded pinfall attempts, and then Charlotte finally got control of the match with a very sloppy spear. And then finally locked in the figure 4. So Rhea Ripley kept hitting Charlotte's legs, and I don't understand what if Rhea Ripley was like, even though she's 23, like she knows everything. She seems to know everything in and out of the ring. It's like she knows even though her opponent's targeting the leg, she knows damn well that she can pump up blood into her leg by hitting it. But it's just like, how does she not know that she can break the count? She can force a break by crawling to the ropes. She made herself look kind of dumb there. It's like, why not try to crawl to the ropes before Charlotte decides to bridge into the figure 8? And that's what exactly she did. She gave Rhea Ripley too much time to... Rhea Ripley gave Charlotte Flair too much time because Rhea Ripley spent too much time hitting Charlotte Flair instead of trying to crawl to the ring ropes for a break. And Charlotte Flair bridged into the figure 8, and inexcusably, Rhea Ripley tapped out and lost the NXT Women's title. Now, I will admit, I'm trying to not be as pissed as I was yesterday about this match ending the way it did, but I can't help it. I really can't help it. This was a really good match with Rhea Ripley having a very good showing, a really good showing. But the ending really brought it down from really good to just good. Why do we need to give Charlotte all the accolades in the world? How many sus is she getting? How many cucks is she getting? Like in creative, is creative like pulling their pants out, and saying, "Here you go, Charlotte," and in return for all these accolades, you can get this. I don't know. Is it the name Flair? I think it's obviously the name Flair because Ric Flair, but I don't know. Charlotte's decent in the ring. It's like her Boston Crab seems to be fine. Like the natural selection is a good move, but the moonsault is her moonsault is really bad. But the spear is kind of fine. It's like her other moves in the ring are not that great. Like she has a very limited moveset. But I don't know. I really don't know about Charlotte, man. What makes her stand out other than being Ric Flair's daughter and having all these accolades that have been handed to her? But there was one thing why I think this happened. Give me a moment here. The reason why Charlotte Flair won the NXT Women's title is because of All Elite Wrestling. It's because of freaking AEW. Is Vince McMahon and Triple H really that scared of AEW? If they think that Charlotte on NXT is really going to help NXT in the so-called Wednesday Night Wars that only the smarks give two shits about when it comes to, oh, no, the ratings, like, oh, like, NXT, like, lost in the ratings war to AEW. It's like, AEW, like, got this many viewers over NXT. NXT can't even break 500,000 viewers. AEW can't break 1 million viewers. It's like, does WWE really think Charlotte on NXT on a weekly basis with holding the NXT Women's Championship hostage really think, shut up, stupid notification, does Charlotte holding the NXT Women's Championship really think that NXT is going to win this non-existent Wednesday Night Wars against AEW? Give me a good reason. Really. Give me a good reason why this will help Charlotte. This will help NXT. Again, these are just accolades. Further accolades that Charlotte does not need. It was fine when she won them once or twice. Like, let's say the first time she was an NXT Women's Champion, the first time she was the Raw Women's Champion at WrestleMania 32. It was fine when she was the SmackDown Women's Champion for the first time, but she kept winning them. But the whole time, her championship reigns, she was a transitional champion outside of her first reigns. Why are we giving Charlotte another one to the third brand that has a lot of up-and-coming wrestlers and in a women's division that's clearly like the strongest over the main roster women's division? And if I were the NXT women's division, I would be worried for like my job security because, you know, it's like, I think Charlotte, given past history, with Becky Lynch, I think Charlotte, don't be surprised if WWE like books Charlotte to completely obliterate the NXT women's division. Don't be surprised because, you know, WWE loves to suck for the 4 horsewomen, except Sasha Banks. But what about Rhea Ripley? It's like, yeah, she had a great showing in this match, but she lost. Will she recover? It's too early to say. She's still really young. She still has a long career. I really don't know what they're gonna do with her. Starting where she gets called up tonight on Raw. Like, I really don't think the best move for her is to get called up to Raw. It's like, or to the main roster in general, because it's like, again, on SmackDown, they're building up towards Sasha Banks versus Bayley. On Raw, if Ronda Rousey returns, then it's going to be Rousey versus Lynch. But even then, it's like, why put Rhea Ripley on Raw when in the end, it's just going to be a transitional feud between Becky and Rhea, and then going to Ronda versus Becky? It doesn't make any sense. Just keep Rhea on NXT, have her build her way back up to Charlotte, and win back the NXT Women's title. It ain't that hard. But I'm just concerned that they're gonna make Rhea like Asuka. Remember what happened to Asuka at WrestleMania 34? She was one of the hottest acts in WWE, yet they managed to fuck that up. It's like she was the SmackDown Women's Champion. she had an undefeated streak. I think it was 914 days. And then, like, she was supposed to go up against Charlotte, and everyone was saying if she beats Charlotte at WrestleMania 34, then it's like Asuka will be legitimate. But then it never happened. Charlotte beat Asuka unnecessarily, ended that streak. It clearly doesn't have the same impact as when Brock Lesnar beat the Undertaker streak, because they didn't get that same fanfare and all that. Charlotte won the SmackDown Women's title. Asuka even gave Charlotte a hug. I was like, "Yo, we're ready for Asuka." And then Asuka clearly went downhill from there. It's like I barely even care for her now. Except for that one time when I went to TLC in 2018. But it's just like, I don't know. I really hope this is not the same case with Rhea Ripley. It's like, I just really thought this was a very bad decision with having Rhea Ripley lose here. This would have really, having her retain here would have really legitimized her. It's like, yes, she can hang with the best, but it's like she can't even beat the best. It's like, I really don't know what to say. It's like she didn't even get a proper title run. It's like she only had 2 title defenses against Toni Storm and Bianca Belair. And this was a couple months ago after she beat Shayna Baszler, and she was having a good couple of months. Actually a good year. She was dominant as NXT UK Women's Champion. Then she moved to the main NXT, where she feuded with Shayna Baszler. Then she had that War Games match where she won with Candice LeRae. Then she helped NXT win at Survivor Series, and then obviously she won against Shayna Baszler at the end of 2019 for the women's title. And then, yeah, it was It's like she was well on her way to have a big moment against Charlotte, fans or no fans, at WrestleMania. But then WWE got greedy again with Charlotte. I don't know. It's like, I really hope that they fix Rhea Ripley, because if history dictates, Rhea Ripley could end up just like Asuka, and I don't know. I do want to pose this question before we move on here. 2, actually. What benefits are there to Charlotte stealing away the NXT Women's Championship from Rhea Ripley? Because right now, I don't see any. Other than WWE attempting to win this non-existent Wednesday Night Wars against AEW. It's not real, people. It's not real. And then I do want to ask, it's like, if WWE wanted to give Charlotte another damn title, why didn't she lose the Rumble and go after Asuka and Kairi Sane? It ain't that hard. It's like, if WWE wanted to give Charlotte a title so bad, why not the women's tag team titles? It's like, why not she try to make them relevant? Oh, because she doesn't have a partner? Well, why not her BFF, Becky Lynch? It's like, why not just book Becky to lose the Raw Women's title to Shayna Baszler on night 1, and then Charlotte can be her tag team partner on night 2 and dethrone Asuka and Kairi Sane. There, you got the Shitfest Club as the women's tag team champions. It ain't that hard. It ain't that hard. If you want John Cena 3.0, if you want female John Cena like 2020 as and female Triple H as tag team champions, there you go. There you go. It ain't that hard. If you want them to have titles, like there's female John Cena, and aka Becky Lynch, and female Triple H, aka Charlotte, gave them the women's tag team titles. That's what they should have done if they wanted it so bad. Ain't that hard. Alright, I'm done ranting about that because I've gone on to that for too long. And if I keep going, it's going to be a hellstorm. And we got plenty of other things to talk about here. Aleister Black versus Bobby Lashley. Whatever. But I do want to say that Aleister Black's gear was really cool. And Bobby Lashley wore pants. He wore pants. Lashley was on the verge of winning this match with the Dominator, but oddly, Lana told Lashley to go for to not do that, and told Lashley to go for the spear and win it. And sadly enough, Lashley actually listened to his wife. Like, what the fuck? You were on the verge of winning. It's like, don't listen to your wife if you're on the verge of winning. It's like, hit the finish and you win right there. But no, Lashley stupidly listened to his wife and tried to hit the spear and ended up getting hit with the black mass. So Lana's stupidity ended up costing her husband the match. And it appears afterwards that the Trash was unhappy with Lana's decision. Next, we get Otis versus Dolph Ziggler. And besides Edge versus Randy Orton, this was one of the best storylines heading into Mania. One of the only two WrestleMania-worthy storylines. Edge versus Randy Orton and Otis versus Dolph Ziggler. The whole love triangle, the whole love quartet. Yeah, it's become a quartet now because Sonya Deville's involvement. So we learned on the last SmackDown before WrestleMania that Sonya Deville was the one that sabotaged Mandy Rose and Otis's Valentine's Day along with Dolph Ziggler. That resulted in Ziggler stealing Mandy Rose away from Otis on Valentine's Day. So we get the match. Dolph Ziggler is accompanied by Sonya, which I thought wasn't going to be a thing yet because earlier in the pre-show, Dolph Ziggler and Sonya Deville were saying, what are we going to tell Mandy and all that? It's just say it was an accident and all that. But then you have them, Sonya and Dolph Ziggler together, which I thought didn't make sense. But then, okay, whatever. Then Otis comes out without Tucker, which I guess is due to the limited amount of wrestlers that can be present, which is unfortunate. So Otis immediately goes after Ziggler as soon as the bell rings with splashes in the corner, but he tried for another one only to get super kicked. So Ziggler continues his offense. He continues to throw Otis around the ring and outside of it, but once he struck Otis again, Otis began to Hulk up. He went to full Hulk up Otis mania mode. From there, months of torment Otis had to endure began to bite Dolph Ziggler in the ass. Otis went on a tear, throwing Dolph Ziggler around the ring post and the barricade, and then Otis finished it off with a one-man version of the compactor. Then we had Otis trying to really finish off Dolph Ziggler with the caterpillar, but Sonya Deville got on the apron just to distract the referee long enough for Dolph Ziggler to dick kick Otis. So both men are down. Sonya Deville now gets off the ring apron, but Mandy Rose's music hits and Sonya Deville tries to explain herself, but Mandy Rose doesn't want any of it. She starts punching Sonya Deville as revenge for her betrayal. And once that's taken care of, the referee's distracted. And Mandy Rose gets in the ring. Ziggler's screaming out to Mandy, "You're ruining everything!" And then she gives Mandy Rose punches Ziggler in the dick. She blows him in the dick. And this allows Otis to finally hit the Caterpillar and cap off months of torture from Ziggler and Sonya Deville with a win. And he finally gets his girl, Mandy. As well as a kiss. Man, this was a fun match. This was a fun match, but I gotta give it some critique here, because this was a match that really needed a crowd, unfortunately. Because had this moment with Mandy kissing Otis, had it been in front of fans, people would have went nuts. It's like, I went nuts personally, but had this happened live in front of fans, it's like, I really thought it would have been more emotional. I really thought it would have been longer too. But this was a good climax for a 4-month-long love storyline that has been done really, really well by the SmackDown creative team. Like, SmackDown has been terrible except for this one storyline that has been perfected. Now, the question is, what does everyone do now? Does Mandy start a company, Heavy Machinery? Does Ziggler and Sonya Deville maintain their partnership? What do Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose have an actual feud? It's like, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen with everyone involved, but I'd assume there's going to be some sort of, it's either going to be the end of the feud or there's going to be some mixed tag team match down the road. But we'll see. I really thought we were going to get the mixed tag team match this weekend, but I don't know. I don't know where else they can go with it. Then we had the most anticipated match of the night, the most anticipated feud waiting to explode, and that is Edge versus Randy Orton. Edge versus Randy Orton in a last man standing match, capping off about 2 months and several years of personal animosity. We all know Edge returned at the Royal Rumble in January after 9 years of retirement. Like, we know he had to retire due to those neck injuries. He had to surrender the World Heavyweight Championship, which was still pretty sad. It's like, I really don't want to think about how Edge retired, but it happened. And then the next night on Raw, Randy Orton wanted to reformulated RKO, but it was a ruse to RKO Edge. And Randy Orton gave him the concerto and all that. And that what led to a month of Randy Orton not saying anything. And then him attacking Edge's closest friends like Matt Hardy, and Beth Phoenix, Edge's wife. And then Matt Hardy even got too attacked by Randy Orton that he left for AEW. And then that was enough to bring the Beth Phoenix RKO was enough to bring Edge back a week or two later, and he wanted Randy Orton. He wanted Randy Orton. He took out his anger on MVP, gave him the concerto. He cut a promo on how this hasn't been about us. It's like he wants to end Randy Orton in a last man standing match, and Randy Orton doesn't get to write the chapter of the story. He does. Randy Orton mentions 2 weeks ago how Edge may be writing this chapter of his story, but Randy Orton's going to make sure it's going to be his last. And here we are, last man standing. And I don't know. I was really excited for this match. This was two of my all-time favorites in Edge and Randy Orton, but this is just another match that really needed the crowd. That really needed that personal emotion from the crowd. But before we get into like my personal thoughts on it, let's dissect this. Let's dissect this. I don't know why people don't like the start of this match with Randy Orton disguising himself as a cameraman and giving Edge an RKO. People are saying that Edge looked stupid for not anticipating Randy Orton to do that. I mean, it's like Edge has been out of the like. I'll give this defense. I'll give this defense because people do have a valid argument for that. Edge has been out of the ring for 9 years. It's like his awareness is gonna be rusty. It's like, and then as the match progressed, he's like he was slowly getting his ring awareness back. So the RKO at the beginning was good. It gave Edge that awareness back. So Randy Orton is disguised as a cameraman, and he actually has pants on, but he takes it off anyway. It's jogging pants, so it's like, fuck. So Randy Orton, or the referee's asking Edge if he wants to do the match. It's like, you got to give me an audible. An audible if you want to do this match. And Edge says yes. And then the ref rings the bell. Edge is barely moving, or Edge is trying to move, trying to punch Randy Orton, but Orton gives him another RKO. The ref counts, and then Edge barely breaks the count by rolling out of the ring. Randy Orton grabs a camera and hits Edge with it, and then Randy Orton puts the camera down, and it still shows Edge crawling to the next area, which is pretty cool. Now we get to the gym area, and this is where people were getting really pissy. This was where people were really getting pissy, like the Twisted Sisters at Wrestling Observer, Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer, as well as Cultaholic. This is where people were getting really upset with a certain spot. So Randy Orton takes Edge to like the weight area. He hangs Edge by like with the weight cable by the arm and the neck. By the arm and the neck. And people got upset by this because it was reminiscent of the Chris Benoit incident from 2007, the whole double murder and suicide. It's like, why? I know that the whole Dark Side of the Ring documentary just came out, but it's just like, you people are really getting worked up over this? It's like, did Orton do anything else to Edge? Did I don't want to go into really dark details here, but all Orton did after that was say, I love you, man. That's all he said. And then he punched Edge while he was trapped there and headbutted him, and Edge was able to get out of it. And you people are really getting sensitive over that? Get over yourself, people. It's like, I will say though, if WWE really thought, like, if WWE, like, people within WWE really thought that was a bad, a tasteless spot, why didn't they edit it out? Why didn't they watch through the whole match, like, before this was released, and edit out that spot? That's what I don't get. It's like, if they knew people were gonna get really pissed about that specific spot that reminded them of Chris Benoit, why didn't they edit it out? I don't know. I really don't know. What do you guys think about that? But I don't want to show it because, people are going to get too sensitive. So they continue to fight all over the Performance Center. They're pretty much just throwing punches and kicks, and Randy Orton's throwing Edge off, threw Edge off the stage area into the barricade. As soon as they go back into the main stage area, they go back out of the main stage area. And then they start going to meeting rooms where Edge hits a nice spot. Like there's a chain link. He climbed onto a chain link roof and then hit an elbow drop onto Randy Orton on the office desk. And then it was a nice spot, but it's just like, I'll get into that later, actually. So we get to the interview area, and then Edge climbs a ladder up a scaffolding. He knocks out Randy Orton first before he gets up there. And then on the scaffolding, Edge jumps off of it and does an elbow drop onto Orton through a table. A nice spot, but Kevin Owens did it much better the night before off the WrestleMania sign. So pretty much the rest of the match takes place in the storage area. There's a lot of punching and kicking going on here. I really didn't get what was going on here. So we get to the end of the match. They're near a trailer truck and a pickup truck. Orton's back was bleeding from the table spot, and it didn't stop Orton from doing the draping DDT through the bed cover of a pickup truck. And after that, Edge climbs onto the trailer truck. Orton followed him, ready to put Edge out of his misery with the punt. But Edge counters with a spear, and then both of them break the count as Edge tries to hit another spear, but eats an RKO. While Edge breaks the count, Orton climbs off the truck to get 2 chairs, and we all know where this is going next. Edge gets hit with the chair by Orton, and then Orton stops the referee from counting, and we all know what Orton's gonna do next. He wants to finish him the same way he should have finished him in the same way he nearly put him out the night after the Rumble, with a concerto. Before he did that, though, the dialogue from the referee pleading Orton not to do it, mentioning that he's as his own family, that was a little nice touch there. A little nice touch of emotion there. Before Orton could finish the concerto, Edge got up and locked in the arm triangle that he used on MVP on Raw, and then he put Orton to sleep. Edge stopped the ref's count because he wanted to finish the job. Edge was crying. He was filled with emotions, but he regained his composure and he finally did it. He hit a concerto, and the ref hit the 10 count, and it was all over. So Edge finally gets his revenge in the last man standing match. From a story perspective, this was a good match, but this dragged. This went on for way too long. I really, really admire the effort Orton and Edge gave here. They really put each other through hell here. Despite the limitations the PC had to offer. But there was too much punching, there was too much kicking, too much slamming each other, too much slamming of each other into different objects like walls or into barricades or into posters. It was there was too much of the same thing. And then we also had the same elbow drop. We also had the same elbow drop from literally the night before. I do want to get some random clip here. Hold on. Okay. Sorry, just had to check on a message real quick. All right. There's some other things I didn't like here. Like the spots being too repetitive, and this match also showed how limited, like how many limited resources there are in the performance center. It's like nobody can't keep this up with the recordings, you know. And oh my god, it's like listening to this match too was painful. It's like, am I listening to Tom Phillips and Byron Saxton? Or am I listening to the Masters? Am I listening to golf? Or am I listening to fucking this?
His girlfriend, Becky Edwards, All-American soccer player at Florida State, pro soccer player.
And Joe, that's actually his new girlfriend. That's Jenna Sims. They were all staying together this week.
Facts, I'm glad you got the girlfriend thing right.
Well, good friend of mine, Matt Broom, knows him pretty well and sent me that name. And Brooks told me secretively that they were together this week.
Oh, really? Look at you,
yeah.
Up on all the gossip.
Am I listening to golf? Like, was I listening to golf during this last man standing match? There was literally, this is a personal feud. Like, despite these circumstances, this is a personal feud between two wrestlers that had major history with each other. And it's not being treated like a major thing. It's literally being treated like I'm listening to Joe Buck botching the PGA Tour. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck? Again, are we listening to a last man standing match, or are we listening to Joe Buck announcing golf? Which one is it? But aside from that, again, the story, like, that was told remained the same. Like, two wrestlers settling the score in a very personal rivalry all over the Performance Center. And it ended the only way it could, you know. The victim, which was Edge, of a personal attack, giving the aggressor, which was Orton, the poetic justice that ended it all, or that started it all, a concerto. So, all in all, this was a good match from a storytelling perspective, and A for effort from Edge and Orton. They really put their hearts out in this match, despite the circumstances, and despite the limitations of the Performance Center. But this was too long. This could have been shaven like a good 10-15 minutes. There are too many repetitive spots, and then we were also listening to Joe Buck like golf commentary, and there's no crowd. It was the second straight match that we really needed a crowd. It's like, again, if we had trimmed down, WWE had trimmed down some of the parts in this match, including the weight cable spot, so people don't get triggered, then this would have been a even better match. But even with those flaws, the storytelling was still spot on. But I don't know. I just wish there was a live crowd, because like with the whole Otis Dolph Ziggler love storyline, this match really needed it. It really did. And I really feel bad for Edge. Because his first match in 9 years, and it's like the whole mishandling with this, like, timing, like this whole last man standing match being dragged out for too long, and the disrespect by the commentary, like, that was the commentary effort. It's like, I don't know. It's like, I really feel bad for him, but it's like, give major props to Edge and Orton for even doing this. So, after that, we get a segment with Rob Gronkowski, the host of WrestleMania. In case you don't know, you live under a rock, Gronk is a 3-time Super Bowl champion with the New England Patriots. Actually, I don't know. Wait, hold on. 2014, 2016, 2014, 2016, 2019. Yeah, 3-time. So night one, like there was a segment with Gronk, Mojo Rawley, and 24/7 champion R-Truth hiding from more wrestlers, chasing Truth. So Gronk elected to knock out R-Truth and try to win the 24/7 title, but was stopped by Mojo Rawley, and Mojo stole it himself. Excuse me. So earlier in the night, Gronk promised that he would be 24/7 champion by the end of the night. So after the last man standing match, Mojo Rawley is being chased around by a bunch of guys from catering, but Rob Gronkowski gets on the perch. He climbs over the perch and does a coffin drop, not really a coffin drop, like a trust fall onto the catering guys. So he pins Mojo to become the 24/7 champion and pretty much runs away from the Performance Center to escape catering. Whatever. It's like, I mean, it did get a little Sports Center like news break that Rob Gronkowski is the 24/7 champion, but whatever. So this allowed Titus O'Neil to become the host of WrestleMania for the rest of the night. Yay. Next up, we had Raw Tag Team Champions, the Street Profits, going up against Angel Garza and Austin Theory. Literally a match that was thrown together. So Austin Theory got to show, and Angel Garza got to show off their skills for people that are not aware of them. But in the end, Austin Theory hits the TKO on Angelo Dawkins. But just when you thought that it was over, Montez Ford out of nowhere hits the frog splash on Theory, which allowed Angelo Dawkins to pin Theory and retain the titles. Afterwards, as the Street Profits were celebrating, Angel Garza, Austin Theory, and Selena Vega beat up on the Street Profits until Bianca Belair, who hasn't been on NXT for weeks and is the real wife of Montez Ford, which was not mentioned by Tom Phillips or Byron Saxton. They made the save, and Bianca Belair gave Zelina Vega the KOD. And yeah, that was pretty much the only noteworthy thing of this segment. Bianca Belair appearing at WrestleMania, saving the Street Profits. So we don't know if this is Bianca Belair's like main roster call up, or if she's just like there to save them for a one night thing and going back to NXT. But it would make more sense to have her on the main roster on Raw, because they need serious help right now, like, because there's nobody left for Becky Lynch to face, especially if Ronda Rousey's not going to come back ever. But for now, I guess Bianca Belair is just gonna like take care of business first, like against Selena Vega and her clients. But yeah, once she's done with that, she can go after the Stand, Becky Lynch. And can I also point out that Montez Ford looked like he was on crack? He was going like this. He was like smoking. He was like smoking crack. He I don't know. Is he high? I don't know. It's like Montez Ford is always like super energized. Does he drink like a lot of Red Bull? I don't know. Either way, Montez Ford, Angelo Dawkins, the Street Profits are still Raw Tag Team Champions. A lot of energy from Montez Ford. Next up, we got the SmackDown Women's Champion, Bayley, defend your title against 4 other women, including her best friend, Sasha Banks, Lacey Evans, Naomi, Tamina, and an elimination match. Really, the only biggest story in this match was whether or not Sasha Banks and Bayley were going to turn on one another. And unfortunately, none of that happened, but we did get a tease of it. I predicted that the final two in this match was going to be Bayley and Sasha because it would create tension, a lot of tension, by creating a predicament of one having to pin the other. So we have the match. Tamina, Sasha Banks, and Naomi have a brief team bad called like reunion. I like that callback a bit because it reminded me of Sasha Banks' beginnings in the main roster. So like they have that callback, but Tamina ends it with a super kick, and then Tamina gets eliminated with a flurry of top rope moves from the other competitors. Then Naomi gets eliminated after she taps out to the bank statement, and it all comes down to the role models and Lacey Evans. The role models double team Lacey Evans until Bayley accidentally hits Sasha Banks with a knee intended for Lacey Evans. So Lacey Evans tries to go for like pins, but like she can't get it, and Sasha Banks comes back and argues with Bayley on why she hit her with the knee, and Bayley is like, it was an accident. It's like, I never intended to hurt you. But then the argument would prove costly because Sasha would get clapped with the women's right from Lacey Evans. And then as Lacey Evans was getting pinned, Bayley did nothing but watch. She looked on and saw Sasha Banks, who Bayley always claimed is her best friend, get eliminated just like that. Some friend, huh? And that also totally ruined my prediction too. But I don't know. I guess WWE Creative wants to move this story, like give a slow burn, you know. But that's cool too. So it came down to Lacey Evans and Bayley. Bayley kept targeting Lacey Evans' right arm to stop her from using the woman's right. Lacey Evans eventually regained control of the match. She had a little comeback and then did the springboard moonsault for a 2. And then Lacey Evans was readying up for the woman's right, but Sasha Banks, who woke up from the longest dirt nap after being eliminated, took advantage of the no DQ rules and hit a backstabber on Evans, which allowed Bayley to win with her secondary facebuster finisher. So after the match, Sasha Banks is holding on to the SmackDown Women's title, staring at it before giving it to Bayley and putting it around her waist and letting her celebrate. Pretty standard match. Again, the big majority of this match was all about setting up the slow breakup between Sasha Banks and Bayley. And I honestly thought it was going to come down to the two of them. But I guess if Bayley and Sasha are put in another similar situation like this, then it'll eventually reach that point of Sasha bursting. She's going to snap. So I guess it's going to be heel Bayley versus babyface Sasha at SummerSlam. And that's in Boston, so Sasha Banks' hometown. And that's the perfect place for them to settle their feud, which would also mark the 5-year anniversary after their first encounter in NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, the very first NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. So we'll see where that feud goes. They're clearly gonna slowly trickle their weight into making that happen. Now, someone wanted me to specifically talk about John Cena versus The Fiend in a Firefly Funhouse match, and this is all I gotta say about it.
Y'all smoking crack! Something is wrong with you people! What the hell has this world come to?
This wasn't even a match. This was a fucking acid trip. It was like, we took the biggest joints. Let me get something here. We decided to take the biggest joint. We took the biggest joint. We rolled it up and decided, you know what? Fuck it. We're gonna smoke it and go on a shitload of acid trip. Oh shit! We're smoking up. We're gonna smoke up in here. You know what? Let's add a bong to it. Oh yeah. Oh, holy shit. Oh. And it was fucking crazy. It was fucking crazy. And someone's saying that Dave Meltzer actually gave the Firefly Funhouse six stars. Let me check that. And apparently it says here, WWE will re-air the Boneyard and Firefly Funhouse matches on Raw and SmackDown tonight. Oh no, it's the Firefly Funhouse tonight, and no, Boneyard match tonight, and Firefly Funhouse Friday. So whoever doesn't have the WWE Network and didn't get a chance to see it over the weekend, now's your chance to relive or to see the acid trip. Where does it say that Dave Meltzer gave this match 6 stars? Is it this one? I know the Wrestling Observer said the Last Man Standing match was the most boring match in WrestleMania history. Not necessarily the most boring match. Is like, I don't know where you found that, but it's like I have to move on with the show, but yeah. We took the biggest joint and smoked it. That's what the Firefly Funhouse was. That's what this freaking Firefly... Oh, it was Wrestle Talk. Okay. We took the biggest joint and smoked it. Okay, Wrestle Talk. Okay. So it was the most recent video. Okay, let's see. The Genius...
Jimmy Kimmel hosts.
John Cena buries John Cena, an NXT star call-up block to the side of Ripley's knee as opposed to the back. It was a great spot, but it pales in comparison to Goldberg eliminate her with Bray cutting the promo instead. That's when the Fiend appeared behind him, choking him out with the mandible claw as Bray counted the pin. What did you? Because I'll be replying to people from out of the shit over and over again for the next few days. This was, quite simply, a stunning exploration of what wrestling storytelling can be. In my opinion, and I've never given anything this before, it's a 6-star match. Brought down...
Okay, Dave Meltzer is not the one that said that. It's Wrestle Talk. So, I don't know why you said Dave Meltzer was the one that said that. But anyway, let's finally get into this match. We went on the freaking craziest, craziest acid trip we have ever seen in quite some time. So John Cena comes out as the, as usual, we thought it was going to be just a regular match, in the Performance Center. But as soon as Cena says, "Welcome to WrestleMania," like as soon as he's about to say the WrestleMania part, it cuts the archival footage and Vince and Mean Gene Okerlund saying that phrase before we get to the usual Firefly Funhouse intro. Bray Wyatt introduces us as usual, like Mr. Rogers and Steve from Blue's Clues. He mentions that Cena was about to face his most difficult opponent yet, and that's himself. Bray walks out of the funhouse, and Cena was suddenly transported into the Firefly funhouse, and he was given his marching orders by Rambling Rabbit, and Cena went out the door. So, pretty much, like, we didn't know what the hell was going on at this point. So Cena enters a dark room, and Wyatt's Vince McMahon puppet appeared and asked him the same question he asked many other wrestlers years ago. Do you have enough ruthless aggression? And then the Vince puppet told Cena to show him he had that ruthless aggression, or he's fired. From there, we all start to smoke the largest pieces of crack we could ever find. We start to smoke the biggest bongs that we could find. We start to put together lots and lots of weed and smoke it. Because from there on out, we didn't know what the hell was going on. We just grabbed our beers, drank it, got drunk. This was pretty much what all this match was. A freaking Hangover Part 3. Or what? Part 2, Part 1, whatever. I don't know what the hell to say about it. Because Bray Wyatt is in a ring, like, and it's still pretty much dark all around it. He cuts the same promo Kurt Angle did the night Cena made his debut. He's like, whoever is out there in the back, I'm issuing an open challenge. And Cena comes out, the SmackDown fist, like, really, we haven't seen that thing in a while. And he's wearing the exact same trunks that he wore when he debuted. And it looked very weird. So Bray Wyatt asks him what trait does he possess that makes him think that he could beat Bray Wyatt. So just like with Angle, Cena responds with ruthless aggression. And then just like with Angle, or just like he did to Angle, he tries to punch Bray Wyatt, but he missed. And he tries to do it again, like ruthless aggression. And he punches again, ruthless aggression. Punches again, ruthless aggression. And then he punches, but the point of this is like Wyatt was letting Cena know that he was living his biggest failure. And honestly enough, it was like, I didn't notice it at the time, but I remember now that this ruthless aggression thing from John Cena, which was like the whole ruthless aggression thing that John Cena endured, was pretty much like the whole ruthless aggression thing. So John Cena was supposed to be the ruthless aggression market boy, and that failed. Cena admitted that was a big failure. Wyatt even, before we got to the next scene, Wyatt even took a shot at Cena's failed relationship and failed proposal with Nikki Bella. That was really golden. Wyatt started singing, "You can look, but you can't touch." And then he started doing the dance. I'm like, oh my god, he really went there. So then we go back in time to the golden era of WWE, the classic 80s, specifically Saturday night's main event. We have Mercy the Buzzard, who's Macho Mercy, like Macho Man Randy Savage. And then we got the Vince puppet on commentary. And Wyatt's playing the role of Hulk Hogan. And he introduces his partner, Johnny Largemeat, a.k.a. Cena. So they're pretty much cutting this promo behind the classic blue steel cage. And then Cena is excessively doing dumbbell curls until he realizes it's Wyatt, and then he's too tired from doing the dumbbell curls and he can't hit him. And then we go to the next scene. We go to the next timeline, the next persona, and Wyatt takes John Cena through his Doctor of Thugonomics days, his rapper days. So John Cena comes out to Word Life, and Wyatt challenges Cena to take shots at him using only rhymes, which Cena did. He joked about Wyatt's Husky Harris gimmick, and he called him a disappointment that has blown every chance that he got. That how Cena mentioned chance pissed off Wyatt, and from there he called Cena a bully. Wyatt talked about having to earn everything, while Cena was given infinite chances after chances. And for that, Cena wasn't a hero, but he was a bully that would do anything for fame. So Wyatt went to the corner and gave Cena one more chance to speak his mind. And all Cena said was, Bray got these nuts. And Bray knocked him back down as the scene transitioned to Bray Wyatt's Wyatt family days. So we transition to the Bray Wyatt the Wyatt family compound, and he begins to talk the same way he used to, a lot of parables and all that. I didn't catch on to it. But the whole gist of it is he talks about the day where Cena completely ruined his career when Cena didn't be a man of the people by swinging the chair against Wyatt at WrestleMania 30. Then he starts singing, he's got the whole world in his hands. And then we transition to a recreation of that scene from 6 years ago. So Wyatt's swinging him around like a rag, like they're dancing. Cena's even wearing the same shirt from 6 years ago. And then Wyatt was about to hit Sister Abigail, but Cena gets out of it. And then Wyatt gives him a chair. And then he wants Cena to fix the mistake from 6 years ago. He wants Cena to hit him. And then Cena tries to hit him. He swings it. But Wyatt disappears. Then all of a sudden, we get a weird transition to WCW Monday Nitro. And then Bray Wyatt cuts a promo in the same manner of Eric Bischoff. And then he introduces Cena again, doing the NWO entrance, doing the air guitar with the spray-painted World Heavyweight Championship. So it was also during this entrance that we got more meme material, where this line happened.
This is such good shit. This is such good shit.
They actually made reference to Jon Moxley's comments from the Talk is Jericho podcast, where Vince would always say, "This is such good shit." They actually made reference, and according to reports, Vince actually approved of that line for this match. So I was laughing my ass off. If you didn't see my reaction to it, it was pretty hilarious. So Bray Wyatt and John Cena are all decked out in NWO and Wolfpack t-shirts and gear. But then Bray Wyatt turns around. Cena starts to take off the NWO hat and starts to beat up on Bray Wyatt. He punches him, and then eventually flashbacks play of Cena's failures while this is happening. And there were some very notable ones, like Cena losing to RVD in the WWE title in a very hostile ECW one night stand in 2006. If y'all remember that, oh man, Cena got booed the living shit out of at that pay-per-view. Then you also got a CM Punk cameo from Money in the Bank in 2011. Then you got Cena losing to The Rock at WrestleMania 28, as well as Cena getting squashed by Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam 2014. And then after all those flashbacks play, you get Cena beating up Wyatt again, but then it's revealed that he's only punching Husky the Pig. And then when Cena realizes this, the Fiend finally appears out of nowhere. And then Cena turns around. He eats the mandible claw. And then the Fiend hits Sister Abigail before that, actually. Audio from the promo from SmackDown last Friday plays that says Cena will end the most overhyped wrestler in WWE, which is the Fiend. And then Wyatt hits Sister Abigail and locked in the mandible claw again to make Cena pass out. And then cut to Mr. Rogers Wyatt to count 1, 2, 3, and won the match for the Fiend. This wasn't a match. This is more of like a skit, and unlike the Boneyard match where it was like a horror flick and an actual fight, this was more of a freaking like revelation, or like, let's say, retribution for Bray Wyatt, or like, I don't know. It's like a nightmare for John Cena. Again,
Y'all smoking crack! Something is wrong
it's an
with you
acid
people!
trip.
What the hell has this world come to?
And throughout it all, I was laughing my ass off, like, because I was so confused with what was going on. But again, the story makes sense with how this lines up. Cena is living his worst nightmares, like the 2002 Ruthless Aggression, to the whole Saturday Night's Main Event, to having to rewatch his past like failures, or like his worst crowds, and then Wyatt made it all happen in order to finally get his redemption over Cena. And then I don't know, this is crazy. So in doing so, I guess Wyatt hits a refresh button over like WWE's creative mistakes that include the DQ finish over Seth Rollins in Hell in a Cell, and the Universal title loss that never should have happened against Goldberg at Super Showdown. But I don't know. This was this was one of the craziest like things that I saw from WWE. It was like, again, it was like we took the largest joint and smoked it. But really good job here from everyone involved. It was like they made something and they actually nailed it. What's next for Wyatt, I don't know. Maybe he rebuilds himself until he can challenge Braun Strowman or Roman Reigns for the Universal title. But yeah, does he need a title? Not necessarily right now. But just rebuild him until he can have another title run. And Cena, well, again, he's off to Hollywood. It's like we don't know when he's gonna come back. He obviously wanted to do this Mania to help Wyatt. So we don't know. We don't know what's next for him. And last but not least, we have the WWE Championship match between Drew McIntyre and Brock Lesnar, and this is pretty similar to the Universal Championship match, but this one had a backstory to it. You had Drew McIntyre wanting to accomplish his broken dream that he's been waiting 11 years to accomplish. Obviously, he debuted in 2009, but he struggled to get that, like, reach that next step, like, out of the mid card. And then he went even further down the card, being a part of 3MB with Heath Slater and Jinder Mahal before he was released. And then he rekindled himself on the Indies and won, I think it was a world title in Impact Wrestling. Then he returned to WWE in 2017, had a nice NXT title run, and some good matches in NXT at the same time before being like criminally mishandled on the main roster throughout 2018 and most of 2019. Then he gets that big push, like at the end of 2019, on his way to winning the Royal Rumble, and yeah, this is where we are now. So Paul Heyman guaranteed that Brock Lesnar was going to quickly beat Drew McIntyre, and await the next challenger for next year's WrestleMania. But even if he didn't, Brock Lesnar will still find a way to be a world champion by next year's Mania. And, you know, I'll get into that later, actually. So we get the match, and it's a finisher fest like the Universal title match. So Drew, early on, hits a Claymore, but Lesnar kicks out. Brock takes Drew to Suplex City a few times before McIntyre eats an F5, but he kicks out at 1, which shocks Lesnar. Brock hits 2 more F5s that result in Drew kicking out of each of them, which pisses off Brock Lesnar. Lesnar is so mad that he shouts that I can do this all night, playa. No, he doesn't say the player part, but he says, I can do this all night. Brock tries to go for a 4th F5, but Drew McIntyre escapes and hits 3 straight Claymores to win the WWE title. You know, and that was WrestleMania. You know, I honestly thought that Drew McIntyre wasn't going to win the WWE title at WrestleMania, given, like, it's in the Performance Center, there's no crowd. I feel like WWE, like, I wouldn't mind if WWE waited till like fans were able to be at arenas again, like live events were gonna happen again. They could do it at SummerSlam, where McIntyre could have his big moment in front of people, but they actually stuck to the plan, and it's the right result. But it's just like, I feel somewhat bad for McIntyre, because it's like he couldn't have his big moment that he's been waiting 11 years in front of a large amount of people, and it's really unfortunate. Now, as for the future, I really hope we don't get matches like this anymore, because if we're really gonna crown champions, like younger champions like this, young full-time champions like this, don't have it be Brock Lesnar and Goldberg. Don't have it be like finisher fest after finisher fest after finisher fest, because how many times have we seen it? We've seen it with we've seen it with Brock Lesnar already, defeat Goldberg in this fashion. We've seen it with Roman Reigns beat Brock Lesnar in this fashion. We've seen Seth Rollins beat Goldberg or Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania in this fashion before having an actual match at SummerSlam with Brock Lesnar. But then there's also the other way around. The part-timers beating the younger champions at this rate. So we can't have these kind of matches. Like, don't have the part-timers involved in the first place, because they draw ratings. It's like, because WWE doesn't want to build new stars. You have to build new stars. It's like, I don't know. It's like Paul Heyman said. It's like, even if Brock Lesnar wasn't going to win, Brock would still find a way to be a world champion by next year's Mania. And I'm afraid that could be the case. If WWE needs to go all in with Drew McIntyre as world champion, and if they don't, then don't be mad if Brock Lesnar gets a world championship, whether it's the WWE or Universal Championship, and defending it at next year's WrestleMania. Just don't be upset by that, because WWE always likes to rely on, especially Brock Lesnar, as a world champion. It happens every year. It's like, for how many years now? Like 6 years now? Like 5-6 years now that WWE had to use Brock Lesnar as a world champion, except for 2016, I believe. 2016 was his only year that Brock Lesnar wasn't a world champion. But far too often, WWE has to go to that well, and it's not good. But that was WrestleMania. WrestleMania 2 taped for one night. And which night did I think had the better night? I think night 1 was better. I think night 2 had some really nice moments there, like the acid trip that was the Funhouse match, and Drew McIntyre, like, surprisingly getting his moment. I knew Drew McIntyre was gonna win, but in that state, like in the given situation, like I really thought WWE was gonna wait, but they stuck to the plan. Then you also had Bianca Belair. Being like making her what might be her main roster debut, but it's just like night one gave us better matches and better moments. In all honesty, it's like you had a really good ladder match. You had a really strong one-on-one match with Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins, with Kevin Owens finally having his WrestleMania moment by jumping off the WrestleMania sign, taking advantage of the small performance center area. And then you had the shock value with Braun Strowman actually winning the Universal Championship when he had no right to be there in the first place. And then you had the Boneyard match, actually doing a lot better than expected. Again, that match benefited the most from being pre-taped. So night one, it was half bad, it was half good. So, but the same argument can be said about night two, but I think night one had the better balance of good and bad. Night two, I felt like there wasn't too much to say. Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair, it was a really good match, but the result was wrong. The result really hurt the quality of the match. And then the only takeaway from it was Otis finally possibly closing out the feud with Dolph Ziggler, and Bianca Belair making her, we don't know if it's going to be her main roster debut, and Drew McIntyre actually winning the WWE title. So night one was hands down better because it was more balanced in terms of quality and matches and moments. It had that good and bad in between, with WrestleMania. Night two, there wasn't much of that. The only saving grace was the acid trip with the Firefly Funhouse match. But overall, WrestleMania as a whole, it was pretty solid. Pretty solid WrestleMania. And look, we can debate all we want whether WWE should have postponed it or waited until they were back in arenas, back in stadiums, all that stuff. But again, we don't know when they're going to be back. When they're going to be able to go back. It's the NBA is already considering canceling the season. It's canceling the rest of the season. The NHL might be on that track as well. The MLB hasn't even started yet. The NFL is already considering moving down, delaying the season, and they start in September. It's a sporting league that starts in September. Its regular season in September is already considering delaying the start of the season. That's not good news. So it's keeping WrestleMania where it is. It was it was the right call. It's look at what they produced. It's yeah, it's not the greatest thing in the world. It's not the worst thing in the world. It was just pretty decent. It was just fine. And what it was. Now, going forward, I do think that some things that they could take away from this is they should do on occasion do more of these kind of matches that really need it, like these more personal feuds, the Bray Wyatt and the John Cena Firefly Funhouse matches, or the Boneyard matches, the matches that really need that pre-taped nature. Give it to them. Because if you do it too often, you're going to oversaturate its welcome. You're going to overstay its welcome. And then it's like if you postpone it, you don't know when it's going to, like, WrestleMania is going to happen. And it's like, but then there are also some takeaways from doing this whole WrestleMania as well. 2 nights. Keeping it at 3 hours was a really good call. But it's also a lesson that I think there are some pros and cons to this. If you do this next year, I don't know how much that's going to cost. I really don't know. 3 hour, I think one night is good enough. But one night with 16 matches, that's overkill. That's really overkill. It's like, I know, the people are gonna say, oh, the matches, the days of WrestleMania matches with 7 or 8 of them are gone. But it's just like, I really feel like the max number of matches that WrestleMania can have is 9 or 10. 11 is fine, but anything going over that is too much. Even in a 2-night WrestleMania, that's too much to ask. Because, if you do a 2-night WrestleMania, you have to consider the stadium officials. It's like, you're asking too much for them. You have to clean up thousands and thousands and thousands of seats of those people. You also have to give so many collector's chairs. You also have to make many collector's chairs, many tickets for those people that only want to attend one day. It's like, plus you also have to think, where are you going to put NXT TakeOver? Are you going to make it on a Wednesday in place of an NXT episode, which would be bad because you have to put commercial breaks in. It's like, I don't know. I don't know if I would want a 2-night WrestleMania permanently. I personally would prefer WrestleMania to be 1 night only, every year, but with less matches, only 10 max, 9 to 10 max, with the most important matches, the most quality matches that needs to be on there, not matches like 16 matches, with half of them that are there just for the sake of putting people on the roster, on the card. Do you see the UFC doing that? I don't think so. Well, I don't know. I really don't. I don't know. I'm really indifferent on whether or not WWE should do a 3-night WrestleMania, or a 2-night WrestleMania, because again, even then, I would be fatigued. I would be fatigued with 2 nights. It's like, I would just have 1 night. Thank you very much. So, again, WrestleMania was pretty solid given the circumstances going on around the world, given all the changes that had to be made for this card, for this Mania, and just all I have to say to end this episode of DylanLasagna Live, just be grateful. Be grateful that WWE even gave you a show in the first place. Now, somebody say, "Oh, you just can't simply be grateful because WWE gave you a show." It's like, these matches sucked. These matches are lame. All that good crap, man. It's like, really? After all the effort that these wrestlers gave you, it's like all the time that these wrestlers put to, they ate their heart out. They risked their health to put on a show, or even if it was taped, they put on a show for you all, and you really don't want to be grateful for that, really. whether or not it's the worst WrestleMania or whether or not it's the greatest WrestleMania, just be grateful that we even got a show in these times, in this times where we don't know when we're even gonna get another pay-per-view. When we're even gonna get another pay-per-view like from WWE or even from AEW. If AEW did something like this too, everyone on the internet would be jumping for joy, would be clapping on their hands, up from their seat, clapping. But if it's WWE, nah. Just be grateful. Be grateful that WWE gave you a show. And that was WrestleMania. The WrestleMania that even happened. I'm just very grateful that WWE even gave us one. And hopefully after this, I know Raw is happening right now. I don't know what they're gonna do with SmackDown, but in all honesty, again, I think they should. I think they really should take a break. It's like I know the restrictions are getting tighter, like with this whole COVID thing happening. It's like I know they want to keep pushing out like shows each and every week, but it's not really feasible at this point. It's like there's really not much to do left. It's like put whatever storylines you got on hold. It's like we can wait till this whole pandemic simmers down. It's like we can wait till fans are allowed back into arenas. Then we can continue on with storylines. Hit the reset button on the WWE and in wrestling in general. But it is what it is, and overall, I just hope that we get that wrestling off season because wrestling really needs it, and WWE needs it. But WrestleMania, really solid. Major effort, major props to everyone involved. But anyway, that's gonna do it for this episode of DylanLasagna Live. Again, I have to edit out that major disruption and that major rant I made on people interrupting my streams. But anyway, gotta post-produce that. Maybe I'll leave out that rant about people interrupting my streams. Get the message out there. But anyway, let me know what you all thought about WrestleMania. Let me know in the comments below on that, or if you're watching this in live, leave those final thoughts in the chat below. And as always, give me a thumbs up if you like this stream, or not. You can always leave that dislike. Let me know how you feel. And if you're not already, make sure you're subscribed. I do these live stream podcasts normally every Friday at 4:30 Pacific. We're gonna return to that schedule. Maybe we're gonna return to that schedule hopefully this Friday. From this point onward, because WrestleMania is always my favorite time of the year. But we're gonna return to that schedule next on this Friday at 4:30 Pacific, depending on the topics that are offered to us. But just stay tuned. Make sure your notifications are on, so you be notified whenever I'm live. I got a few videos coming out within the next couple of weeks. They're pretty much reaction videos that people that people have either requested or not requested. But just stay tuned for that. Anyway, everyone, always be delicious, and I'll see you all next time. Take care, everyone.